Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna. In today's video, I'm going to show you my flex pens. So I actually have 4 flex pens here to show you guys. So this is just meant to show you the amount of flex that this pen makes, and also some writing samples, kind of like compare and contrast them to each other. So without further ado, let's get started. The very first one that I have here is my Himalaya, and this is, I think, version 2. And this has an ultra flex nib. So I'm not gonna go over, the properties of the pen and stuff like that, but I'm just gonna show you the kind of flex that this pen makes. All right, so the first one here is the Himalaya, and this has an ultra flex nib. I'm going to show you a writing sample, and just to show you how and what it looks like. So let me zoom in. I really like this pen. This is one of my go-to pens, just because how springy this pen is. And it really does give you a nice flex, and it's soft and springy, and it does also create, I would say, a nice thin line. Okay, and one of my go-to, like I said. Okay, and I think that well, this does not compare to those vintage flex, but it will really satisfy your fancy if you just wanted to write with a pen that flexes. I really like the feel of this pen. So again, this is Himalaya. Okay, and as you can see, does produce, I would say, a very nice line variation. Okay, and I think they sell this in like a fine. I think this one is fine nib. But look at the kind of flex that you can make with this one. Really gorgeous, really beautiful. Okay, so we're just gonna write here. This is the nib is ultra flex nib. Again, let's see. And yep, for as long as this does not railroad, this is really nice. So see the kind of fine line that it creates. That's a really fine line, right? Okay, and it's really wet because, oops, there you go, you have the railroading in there. But other than that, this is one of my go-tos because of how nice and flexible this pen is. Really gorgeous. It will really satisfy you, if you're looking for that flex. It's not difficult to flex at all. It's springy and soft. Okay, so that's my FBR Himalaya, and the nib here is not even gold, so this is made up of steel. It's really nice. It writes really well, and it will showcase the ink properties really well, just because it will give you that line variation. Okay, so if you have like dual shading inks and stuff like that, those are going to show if you use this ultra flex nib from FPR. They are also very affordable flex pen, and you shouldn't have to do like any modification whatsoever, because I think it's good as it is. All right, so the next one that I'm going to show you is this big guy over here, and this is the Noodlers Neponset. And I like this one as well. I think this is a good flex pen. I think it's made up, the feed is also made up of ebonite, and this has music nib. So it has that 2 slits on there, but this writes more like a medium or broad, something like that. It's not as fine as this one. All right, so let me show you how this writes. I'm gonna write the name here. So this is by Noodlers. Okay, so as you can see, it does have a good amount of flex as well. All right, very nice, right? It's a wet writer, I would say. Okay, this one writes really wet, so you have to find a good paper so it does not bleed. But like as mentioned, so the line that you make using this is not as fine as the first one, but it does give you a satisfying flex. Okay, so this is also made of steel. The nib is made of steel, and I'm gonna write the nib here. This is music nib. Okay, so if you were gonna compare this print and then the print over here, this one is really finer. This one writes more like a medium broad, I would say. Okay, so now let's see what's going to happen if I flex this. So it does give you a nice flex. It does create that thick line variation. If you press hard, it does railroad sometimes too. But so let's see the fine line you can make with this. Yep. So it's more of like a fine. I mean a medium. Okay. So it's not as fine as this other one, but as you can see over here, it starts bleeding because of how wet, you know, the ink is on this paper. Okay, so let's try this thin line and then thick line, thin, thick line, thin line, thick. So alternating thick and thin lines. Okay, so you can see it's not as fine, but it does have a good flex to it. All right, so let's do some 8 figures here. Okay, this is also one of my favorite pens. Okay, and it's also smooth, like the way this pen writes. Really gorgeous, and I love the ink in this pen as well. This is the Yamabudo ink. All right, okay, so that is the Noodlers Neponset. So the next one that I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you another FBR pen. Okay, so this is the Darjeeling fountain pen, also from Fountain Pen Revolution, and this one is in flex nib. It's not ultra flex, it's called flex. This is a lot firmer than the Himalaya. Okay, so let's do a writing sample of this. Now the feed is not made up of ebonite, unlike the Himalaya. So this one has a plastic feed, and it does railroad sometimes because, well, the feed cannot keep up with the flex. But I don't know if you can do modification on this feed, if you can maybe substitute an ebonite feed, maybe that will help solve the issue. But let me show you how this pen writes. So again, this is from FBR, and the ink I have here, okay, in this pen looks very similar to the one here, but it's not the same. Actually, these are two different inks. So this one is actually from J. Herbin, Moondust. Okay, because I cannot pronounce the French. All right, so it's FPR, and this is Darjeeling. Okay, it is a wet writer as well. Okay. Okay, so that's what it looks like. I mean, it's still gorgeous. You know, it's not as I would say it does not pronounce much thicker line than the Himalaya does, but I would say the flex is really nice, you know, in this pen as well. So it's also a wet writer. It starts bleeding here on this paper. I'm actually using a Maruman Notebook, but I don't know why this one bleeds, but maybe if I use a different notebook, maybe not. But I'm gonna write that this is in it's also made of steel, but this one is flex nib. Okay, so let's do that vertical line here again. So it does railroad sometimes, but that's fine. Like I said, there's a limit to the kind of flex that you can make with this one because it's not as flexible as the other Himalaya. But this also gives you a fine line. Okay, so I would say that if you don't do any flexing or no pressure at all, this writes more like a fine. Okay, so let's do the alternate. They contain. Okay, it's very nice, and this is also a lot cheaper, you know, than the Himalaya. And if you want a flex nib, you would only have to add like $3. Now for the Himalaya, if you want the ultra flex nib, you would have to add, I forgot, I think somewhere around maybe $14, $13, something like that. But you know, these pens are really good, and especially for the price. Okay, you get that nice satisfying flex there without breaking a bank. And you know, and to me, if you have an expensive pen, if that does not write as well, well, kind of regret buying it, right? But this one, really nice, really good, really gorgeous. Okay, so let me zoom out and let me show you, you know, the whole page, so you can kind of like see it at once and see the similarities and the differences between and among these pens. So you have the Himalaya Ultra Flex, you have the Noodlers Neponset, you have the Darjeeling, which is just a flex nib. So the next one and the last pen that I have that is I would say in that category is my Pilot Falcon. Okay, let me zoom this in. Okay, so you can see how the Falcon writes. Okay, so this one I would say I have not really written, so I have not used this pen a lot, flexing it, because I'm just afraid I might break it. But let me just show you. So this is Pilot. By the way, this Pilot Falcon here, this is in soft fine nib. Okay. Okay. So this is a lot finer than the other pens. All right, so that's how the Pilot Falcon writes. Now this one is made up of 14 karat gold nib, and this is in soft fine. So as you can see, the writing there is fine. Okay, really fine. So now let's do some flexing here. I'm gonna do vertical lines, and like I said, this is not like flexing it to the limit, but that is the amount of flex that you can get with this. And this is not specifically marketed as a flex pen, but it does flex because it's soft. But if you look at the fine line, this is really fine. Okay. All right, so let's do again like an alternate, fine and then thick. Okay. Okay. So that's okay how it writes. Again, really nice. Let's do some, I would say like 8 figures here. Okay. This is also, I would say, a wet writer, but this particular pen, I think the feed is made of plastic, so it's not ebonite. However, it does not railroad. It does sometimes, but not as much. It does not happen very often. But yeah, I mean, it writes really well, especially for a fine nib, you know, because sometimes I find that finer nibs tend to be really dry, but not this one. Okay, so let me zoom out, and hopefully you can see this all together in one page and kind of compare them, you know, to each other. And so, yep. So as you can see, these are my flex pens. And if you don't have a budget for getting like an expensive flex pen, I would highly recommend getting this FBR Himalaya, because then you would have an ebonite feed, and then you would, you know, it includes a converter as well, and you do not have to take it to a, you know, to a master, to a nib master or something like that to fine tune it or kind of do some modifications on it, because it writes pretty well, you know. And considering the kind of flex, I mean, this is really a steal, I would say. Okay, right? So I've been wanting to try the Pilot custom 912 with an FA nib, because I went to the DC pen show and I was able to try it, and I really like it. And so maybe I'll get that one and see how it compares to this, considering that is very soft and springy as well. But this one is really soft and springy, you know, even though it's not gold, it's steel, but it is soft and springy, I would say. All right, so now let's do some more writing sample, kind of like compare them again to each other. Hopefully this one is fun and I can fold this notebook. Let's start off with the Himalaya here. Okay, all right. I'm gonna write like a one-liner. It doesn't have to be long, but then again, you can compare the writing. I would say, okay, really nice. Look at that. Okay. Very nice. If you want, you know, to do some flourish, calligraphy or something like that. Really nice. Okay. I don't know, maybe there's something in there. I don't know, maybe like a fiber. I don't know what happened there, but that's what it looks. Okay, that's how it looks. Okay, next up, we're gonna do the Neponset. I'm gonna write the same thing, short and sweet. Okay. Okay, this ink is really gorgeous. Love the Pilot inks. Okay. Yep. You can see the difference there. This is a little thicker than the other one. We'll do the Darjeeling now. Okay. Oops. Let's see. Railroads. Okay. Okay. That's railroad. That is, I think, annoying sometimes when it does that, but I wish that this also comes in like an ebonite feed. Maybe that will solve the problem. But this is what it looks like here. And then finally, we have the pilot Falcon here. So I'm gonna do something short and sweet. Okay. So this definitely is the finest of all. Okay. Alright. So that's my writing sample. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can compare them all at once. So again, the first one is this pen. Okay, that's for this one. For the first one is the Himalaya. The second one is the Neponset from Noodlers. The third one is another FBR Darjeeling. And the last one is the Pilot Falcon. And so far, these are my flex pens. And I don't know what's with flex pen that if you get one of these and you are so satisfied, you kind of like want to get another one and kind of see how they compare with each other. I've been wanting to get like a wet noodle or what they call like a vintage flex, just to kind of compare that kind of flex, but debating whether or not I will get it, because if I just wanted this effect, then I already have that pen. But so let me know what you guys think. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have not subscribed already, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And I'll see you again next time. Have a good day. Bye.